So I just gotta go and I go live and we're good to go. So just assume we're gonna be live in like 2 seconds.
Perfect, perfect.
All right, we are live. This is Kr00tman Tech here with the Silicon Foxx, and you just got back from Computex a few days ago. So take the floor. How was it?
Man, it was a crazy trip for me. Like I said, I'm more used to CES and stateside trade shows.
Yeah.
For one, Computex is much, much larger. Talking multiple floors, multiple buildings. You've got hotels, different secret venues, parties. I mean, all kinds of just wild, wild venues where things are showcased. I personally enjoyed myself a lot. There was a ton to cover, and you've got to have connections because if you just go there to do the trade show, you're missing out on so much. The trade show is honestly like 10% of what goes on at Computex.
Yeah.
Most of what I learned actually came from secret and private meetings and parties after everything was said and done on the trade show floor.
All right. So you went, right? Did you have a lot of meetings set up beforehand, or did you just kind of go and you're like, let's do it?
Funny, when I went, I had no meeting set up. I had no contacts with anybody besides one company, which was a very small AIO ODM. So I go my first day. I went to the NVIDIA GTC conference, and
I
so
heard
I
that
sat through
was
that.
I heard that was
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. The guy actually, there was an analyst next to me. He wasn't pressed, but he was I think a financial guy,
yeah.
and he fell asleep right about when Jensen started talking about NVLink Fusion. I think so. He was older guy. He was first. He was like this, and then he was.
I sent someone a message. Like I was talking to you, and then I sent someone else a message who was there, and I was like, "How is it?" And they're like, "I'm not even. It's bad." They basically said, "Watch the GTC preview," like you said, and I was like, "Oh,
It was really bad. So, but I'm glad I went because after I got done, I was just walking out randomly. I was trying to find my way back to the shuttle bus that took me there, and I'm walking with this Israeli content creator, and he's walking around. We just start talking, and he's like, "Yeah, the conference sucked. I'm on my way to a meeting with somebody from I think Antec." So
okay."
I said, "Oh, okay, that sounds cool." He said, "You want to come?" I was like, "Yeah, I got nothing to do." And then from then on, we just we hung out for like 16 hours that day, just going from meeting to meeting, meeting person to person. He had all the connects. So I learned a lot from this guy and really understood what Computex was about because it's not about the trade show floor, you
Yeah.
know. So it was cool, man. It was really interesting, and it taught me so much, especially about how to deal with industry contacts, how you should present yourself, how to bluff and look important. Because a lot of these places you have to be on a list to go there. So if you're not on the list, you got to have a good reason why you're not on the list to get in. So I would make up all kinds of stuff, like, oh, I'm his staff writer, or sent the email in, but I guess you guys didn't get it, or I registered late or whatever. It's just crazy. As long as you have a business card, you can get in. That's all they
Well,
care
you
about is
know,
business
so
cards.
so it's funny you say that, right? Like if you're at Computex or like CES, right? And for the audience watching, we are very small on the content creator list, right? And
Yeah.
when you first go to like a CES or anything like that, you just kind of stumble your way around, and then as you meet more people, you kind of learn more about how the trade show goes. But you're trying to cover the news with everybody else, and you don't really know where you're going, and you're just like stumbling around, kind of thing, you know. So, but once you get the hang of it, you know what to do, and then the hope for us small content creators is to end up doing our version of content that you would see from larger people covering the big news stories. So,
Yeah, that is the goal. And
so no. So what? So that first day, right? Did you get anything interesting that you can share with us, or what did you see that was like really interesting out of all the different companies that you met with?
yeah, so I mean, going down the list, starting with the big guys first, I guess. ASUS, they took us in a like an NDA room at their headquarters. The headquarters is very nice, by the way. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Palisade marble, high ceilings, just a Costco attached to it. And I had no idea they just have a Costco next to ASUS, which is
yeah.
craasy. So anyway, they take us in the NDA room, and then they're like, okay, this stuff that we're gonna show off. It was like a lot of the stuff, personally, I didn't care about, like new keyboard switches, I guess
Okay.
some monitors, but they showed off a new pre-built they're working on, and I thought it was personally one of the more interesting things at Computex. So It's a little pre-built. They call it the Asus Tough T500, and essentially what this is they've put a mobile Intel CPU onto a motherboard, mobile SODIMM RAM, and I think like an RTX 5060, right? So I thought the most interesting thing was actually the mobile CPU. You know, that's what I do. I'm a huge
Yeah,
mobile
yeah,
chip
yeah.
guy. And when I asked about it, I said, hey, why did you guys go with a mobile Intel CPU instead of something lower end that's like DIY replaceable? And they told me it was for cost reasons, right? And I said, okay, cost reasons, whatever. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I think the low end, they're trying to target like $800. And one of the things that I saw throughout the trade show is I call it we're in the technical recession, meaning that it's getting very, very difficult and more expensive to produce bespoke hardware at a reasonable price. You know, things like Zen 5, the latest Intel chips, still hitting those marks kind of in the lower end, entry level, is going to be very, very expensive. You know, even some of the nodes we would think are not that um, expensive anymore still are, like TSMC N4, N6. You know, it's just going up in price.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
people
for
people
sure.
I talk to there, they're like, yeah, the chips, you know, they're not getting cheaper. You know, I thought, and then you know you can back this up looking at the consoles. Usually by now this is year 5 for the PS5 and Xbox Series consoles, and they have not seen a price decrease. In fact, they're going up in price in a lot of regions. So I mean, that should just tell you, right? You're looking at what the APU in there is. It's based on Zen 2, RDNA 2. It's old tech, really. The
Yeah.
PS5, Xbox, that's old technology, and it's only gotten more expensive to produce. So that should tell you where we're kind of heading, the trend we're heading, right? We've got OEMs now. They're building new systems with old mobile chips, right? Something that we only saw like, you know, random Chinese vendors do for mini PCs.
You know,
I've never heard of it.
it's
It's crazy.
it's funny. It's funny you say that, right? Because I remember seeing Wendell. You actually told me about it. Wendell's video for Level One Tech, and a lot of people in some of the non-gaming circles I run with got really excited about the idea of the mobile CPU soldered to a motherboard with enough PCIe lanes that you can pop. Like you can just build a system around it, right? Like the
Yeah.
only thing you can't upgrade is the CPU, and the RAM. And I definitely think that's interesting. And you know, like you said, and as we kind of saw with the GPU announcements, it's a lot of side grades this year. You know,
Yeah, it is. You
so
know.
so this pre-built that you saw from Asus, do you think? Can you talk about it, or are you NDA'd on it?
No, I could talk about it. I mean, we had an NDA, but it only lasts for an hour. So it's
Oh,
like,
all
like,
right. Well,
like,
I
yeah, you
mean,
can't talk
let's
about
keep
this for
something.
1 hour. After that, you're good.
Yeah, you gotta keep
So,
something.
yeah, I mean, it's nothing like we haven't seen before. The chip was, I believe, it was the i7 13. No, not it's like 1362H,
Those
whatever,
those
random
naming
chip.
SKUs are so, dude.
It's so bad. It's so
We
bad.
got to do a video about one day about how awful. Remember when I messaged you? Mobile naming SKUs are terrible and they're just confusing. Like, just
Yeah, it's
tell us
trash.
the equivalent. Tell us the desktop equivalent of what this is, and we're golden. You know what I mean?
Pretty much. Yeah, Intel
So
they just obfuscate everything, but no, like it said, like you look at the specs and it's okay. It's not that exciting. What I was excited about was the price they're trying to hit for the entry level, which was 800 USD for like the base model, and kind of like yeah, they're embracing this idea of using mobile RAM, and the RAM's actually not soldered to the board. It's like SODIMM, so you can upgrade the RAM if you want later down the line.
that's not
So
bad.
you have interchangeable RAM, GPU, SSD. That stuff's good. They have a little tiny AIO on the chip too, which I didn't think was necessary, but you know, more power to them.
Okay.
I think the philosophy behind the design is the most important thing. Like we now have an OEM that is shipping hardware at scale using mobile silicon, which I think is very, very important. It's not a laptop, right? They're
No.
going to sell people a desktop system that has a laptop CPU in it because of costs. So since they've kind of broken the mold on that, I wonder who's next to do the same kind of thing, right? Are we going
Yeah.
to see more products from other companies like, hey, you know, it's too expensive to hit this like $900 price point with a regular desktop CPU. So here's a Ryzen Zen 4 chip from AMD. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think is kind of interesting. And what does that say about the DIY industry going forward? You know, what does that say when these companies are struggling to make profits using, these OEM tray CPUs, which they get good discounts on already?
Yeah. So I definitely think that's something for we could go on forever on that, and but I will say that I like the idea. Look, anything thinking outside the box to lower costs for people, I think is a good thing, right? And
I do
I'm
too.
all for it. And if it's like another way to build PCs, and it'll trickle down to the used market, I think there's a lot of good with it. Um, so what else did you see from like that day that was really kind of interesting to you? Like at Computex.
That day, because that was day one, I saw a company. I made a YouTube short about it, but a company was they're trying to put like discrete cards inside AIO monitors, gaming monitors.
Oh
So you
wow.
have a gaming monitor, and then on the inside you have replaceable parts. So like interchangeable RAM. I think one model had a discrete CPU that you could change out, and you have an actual GPU. So they're getting really close to this design. The only problem is the GPUs. There's no good low profile cards. So they told me like, look, for low profile cards, we only got one option. That's the 3050, some 3060 models. We can't find any 4060s. We don't know what to do. Like we can't bring it to market, right? So I thought that was pretty cool because I could like see that being interesting to people. Like
Yeah.
here's your gaming monitor, has all the PC parts on the inside. If you want to upgrade later, you can change the CPU, the RAM, the GPU, and it's all in that, right? You just pop off the back. You can look at all your parts. I think that's a really cool idea, but the engineering is killing them because again, companies don't make low profile cards. I mean, you know this, right? I think don't you still have your 3050, the
No,
little
I re-
the pink one?
I actually filed a return on it. I had no issue with it, but like the PC was supposed to go on died.
Oh, well, there you
So
go.
that kind of killed that project. But that's definitely really interesting. I would have like it reminds me of those old office desktops, those Apple and HP ones that would
Yeah.
do that. I wonder what kind of market there is for that in like the casual gaming end, like it's all just in one thing. But again, how much can it cost, and if it's going to be expensive, why are you going to buy it?
All right.
you
I
know?
told him just like, look, if you need market research, put it on Indiegogo. Say, hey, that's what we're doing Indiegogo, and then I'm sure you get funded at least
Yeah,
a couple thousand.
that's
I
crazy.
mean, that's where all the low volume niche stuff goes. If you think about how many like Chinese mini PC vendors, the PC handheld guys, like how many of them use Indiegogo to this day still, you know, it works for that. I don't know, niche tech works on there.
Yeah. Did you speaking of handhelds actually, did you I know you're big, I know your channel, the Silicon Fox. By the way, for anybody who just joined in or is tuning in or watching this at a later date, this is Kr00tman Tech and I'm here with Silicon Fox. He made the trip down to Computex and we're just talking about his thoughts, and I've had a lot of questions for him because it was kind of this one seemed like it was kind of hard to get news out of live. Obviously the big content creators did videos, but I feel like as an American, sometimes it can be annoying to try to keep up with all the news going on at Computex, just because of the time difference too.
It was
So,
very difficult.
so how as far as the mobile space, I know I saw the MSI Claw using the new AMD chip that was unveiled at CES, but I didn't really see any other handhelds there that were worth noting.
Yeah, well, the Lenovo Legion Go S was there. Looks, man, everything that was interesting about handhelds was in AMD's Connect booth, which was day two. And that was my favorite day by far because I got to go to AMD's press conference in the morning. And then afterwards, I made the trip to it was a private suite room in this fancy hotel. It was filled with all their design wins. Like all the technology we see all the big YouTubers get to play with, it was there to play with. I'm talking the ROG Z Flow 13. They had Threadripper systems. They had
Was it was
more
it
X3D chips.
was it similar
I'm
to the
sorry.
booth? Was it similar to the booth at CES where we met the suite?
Yes, but it was way better. There was way more things there.
Oh yeah.
So it was similar, right? You had like a few laptops, a desktop, things like that, but they had way more things there. And in fact, I should have sent you this beforehand, but I've got a ton of B-roll from there.
Oh yeah.
Uh, oh, dude, it was great. So I got to go down the line. Handhelds is galore. Laptops from lowest end to high end. You know, like the Max chips they
Yeah.
have. It was really cool. I enjoyed myself there. Um,
What?
but again, I mean, it's not. It's stuff that we've seen before, but it was nice to see it all in one place.
So okay. So like, tell me your thoughts. Like, what did you see that you liked? What did you see that you didn't like? I mean, what did you like? I have an
What I
idea
like.
based on CES, but I mean, you got newer version of all the tech, I'm sure.
Um, yeah, for the honestly, the thing that was the new, like actually new there, I would say, was the let me see, there was the Lenovo Legion Go S was actually there. That wasn't at CES. Well, not the SteamOS version. So the SteamOS version was here. The handhelds were cool. They were like refreshed models. The MSI Claw A8, of course, with the AMD chip was there. It was really fun to use them. They are a lot. It's hard to convey sometimes in
Yeah, for sure.
previews or whatnot how smooth some of these like gaming devices are, like the handhelds especially.
Mm-hmm.
But they were running very, very well. I was very impressed with the performance and power usage as well. So that performance to power efficiency curve was really well tuned. Look, we're getting close, man. We're getting really close to that dream of having a good PC handheld that lasts for more than 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I really enjoyed myself with that. I thought the laptops that were there that were using the AMD chips was very, very exciting because it was a lot of design wins. When me and you went, when we met at CES, they
Yeah.
had, I remember counting, I think it was about 7 laptops in total they had, right?
Yeah.
Just scattered throughout. Here it was like 15, something like that. Way more design wins, HP, Asus, Lenovo, everybody was there. I think even a Dell model. And I got to see more of that Ryzen AI Max 395 chip. That's the big one. That's really exciting, man. Using that thing is a monster.
Yeah.
It feels like you have a discrete card inside a tiny 14-inch chassis. Like it's crazy. Like yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like around 4060 to 4070 like performance, but dude, I'm telling you, you like just booting up programs, games, and just gaming like normal, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
thinking about settings, just playing the game on a laptop that small is a very foreign feeling to me. I can't do that on my HP Thin and Light with like a little Ryzen chip inside of it.
Oh no,
Crazy.
no. Go ahead. What?
No, I was saying it's crazy. I mean, it's a strange feeling. I just, I guess I'm a bit disappointed that it's so expensive, this technology to do, and they're struggling to scale it down. That's what I was told. Like, hey, we're trying to scale it down. We're looking at different ways to get this cheaper and to kind of get it out there more. But I feel like there's only so much AMD can do. Like, there's only so much you can do.
Well, I mean, it's funny, right? So like, I have a 4090 laptop that I use a lot, actually, a lot more than I thought when I got it. Um, it's like, it's not small and it's not portable. Like, I don't even. Some day, like I have a battery in it, right? But I basically use the battery like an IPS, if that makes
Okay.
sense. Like,
Yeah.
like the battery's like if the power goes out, I could shut it down. Like, I don't even consider the battery. I don't even care about it. Like, because it's such a big, powerful system. And when we were using those AI Max laptops, I was like, oh my god, like this is really solid gaming. And it's like they were like as thick as my cell phone.
Yeah, it was crazy,
It
right?
blurs it out, but they were what, maybe like 2-3 inches thick.
Yeah, it's about, yeah, it's the same. It's about a couple inches thick, maybe.
So what models were your favorites when you were there?
I like the Z Flow 13. I do. The HP, I think it's like the G1A, whatever. That one I like. The HP one is
Okay.
really nice. Um, there was another OEM
Did you
laptop that
game?
had
Did
that
you
chip in
did you
there.
play any? Did you play any games on them?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They had, I think it was like Claire Obscure. You could play Ratchet and Clank. Another some Horizon was there. Like the AMD sponsored stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah. I
could
was.
play on it.
I thought Forbidden West would be there. That's what we tried at CES.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was. It's good, man. Like I said, it's almost boring to talk about performance wise because you play it and it's like, oh, I noticed like you're not really compromising, right?
No, you're
I
getting
think they had it on like high settings, whatever the FSR option they had was on quality, and it's a great experience on the screen. I was trying my best, like to find artifacts and things, and like in the fringe of the screen, you can kind of see where the upscaling is working its magic. But it's good, man. If you're just playing a game, it's good. And the sad thing is, that's the tech that needs to be in the low end, right? The APUs are what need to be in the sub $1,000 market, but that technology is so, like I said, bespoke. It's hard to get it down there. There was a, not to get off topic, but there was a Linus video where he was talking with Framework about the Framework desktop,
yeah,
and the CEO had mentioned like, hey, we talked to AMD to see if we could use LP Cam RAM um, in these models so it could be interchangeable. And AMD's engineers ran the numbers and stuff, and they just couldn't get the performance right using replaceable memory. And that just kind of tells you how specific, how intricate this memory architecture is for the chip. It's expensive work, and it's kind of a catch-22. Like that's the tech you need in like the entry level, low end for people who can't afford a graphics card,
yeah.
but they'll never get it because it's more expensive than making a graphics card.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's the funny thing, right? You need to wait like 2 or 3 gens for it to finally be affordable, right? Because like if you look at, for example, look at like RTX 3080, right? We're
Yeah,
5 years in, and these things they were what, $700 MSRP?
yeah, around there. Yeah,
Obviously, they went crazy with crypto mining, right? They went absolutely wild. But now we're 5 years in, and they still go for like, probably like $450, give or take.
yeah, it's crazy.
So it's like they, how much it's gonna take us a few years for this stuff to get cheap enough to be able to use if we're lucky.
Yeah, and that lucky part, you hit the nail on the head. Like I said, technical recession is what I've been worried about, man. You see it from new stuff down to the used market. It's
Yeah,
just hard to find good deals now. It just is.
yeah,
Like I was thinking about building a like a small form factor PC, doing a video on it,
yeah.
and like, dude, you can't find good ITX boards for a good price. The only ones I could find were older. I was talking to a local PC shop. They had like a i7 10700K, some Asus ROG like mini ITX board. It was really nice. They wanted like $500 for that with the whole platform. I'm like, 10700K, $500, no case, no power supply. I'm looking for. I can't find any low profile GPUs. Ones I could find like a 3050 or an RX 6600. Old tech, bro. RX 6600 is old.
It's 5 years old
People
now,
still
man.
want 250 for it, 225 for it.
Yeah.
I'm not paying $200 for like an RX 6000 car in the low end. Come on, like really, what are we doing? You know,
Dude, I did a video. I literally just. It's funny you say that. I literally just released a video on the mid-range marketplace, right? Like, what is a good GPU to buy mid-range? And I'm trying not to get off Computex topic, but I feel like it's gonna happen no matter what we do. Um, the 5070 is cheaper new than the 4070 Super used by like $100, $150.
what? That is insane.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you go on eBay and you use their market research tool that's open to everybody, right? And you filter it by just used sales, like not new, not scams, not for parts. It's I did I did like May 9th to I did like the last 3 weeks of May, right? And it was like, oh god, how many units were sold? It was a lot. It was a lot of units sold. Hold on, I have it over here. It was like because I track it, I can monitor the progress over the last few months to see how the used market's going.
Yeah.
It was like 484 units sold at an average of $744.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no.
A
That's just
4070, okay? A
4070. Wow.
4070, which is a 3080, which is just a 3080 with better DLSS, right? And it's more efficient. Obviously, I'm really simplifying it, but right now it's selling for $674 and 1,161 units sold in the last 3 weeks.
Wow. People buying for that price. Wow.
I mean, like so here's the thing, right? So like you're telling people what they should buy, and you're like, okay, so this is what the eBay market is, right? And obviously you can find cheaper on Facebook Marketplace with all the BS that goes with it. And there's other sites that, like you buy on a site without a platform fee and people charge less because, the platform gets their take, right? So you would, I was in my video, I was like, you would have to pay like $450, right? So that's like $225 less than what somebody can get on eBay to make it worth it. Or why are you just not buying a 5070 new for $600?
Honestly, yeah. Well, there's no equivalent.
No, so like tech tubers are like hate the 5070. I don't like the 5070. In my review, I basically said it was uninspiring, but it's the best thing out there. Right? Like it was literally it's the best GPU out there right now because the used market is so on its ass right now. Like when you were at Computex, right? Did you do anything with GPUs or did you see anything with graphics
I
cards?
did, but dude, there was nothing. Like, I was looking for GPUs, right? There was nothing to talk about with GPUs at Computex. You had Asus who said, "Here is our new Doom 5080 model." We collaborated with. It was a nice looking card, by the way, but we collaborated with Bethesda. Look at it, it's Doom. That was it, dude. That was it. Only GPU stuff you heard or saw was like older 40 series in pre-built. People were showing off. Like nobody was talking about GPUs. There was nothing to talk about. You know,
Nothing.
people are
Nothing juicy, huh?
and nothing juicy. Or you would hear someone say, "Oh, they're excited about like the 9070 or like the new 9060 to go into models." But yeah, you didn't see a lot of. There were like hardly any GPUs on the showroom floor.
Did
And
you
if there was something, it was an AI demonstration.
did you get to play with the 5060 or the 9060 XT? Did you get to play with it?
Yes, it was in a pre-built at AMD Connect. It was kind of it was kind of I want to say a hover demo because they didn't really want us poking around the settings and stuff like that. So like the rep is just kind of over your shoulder, over your shoulder.
They let me after my meeting. They let me poke around at CES with the 9070 XT. They let me poke a lot more than I thought they would. I just couldn't video
Yeah,
it. So
yeah. I wanted to. I think the other reviewers got to. So I was anyway. So not to get off topic, but yes, I played with it. From what I could tell, just having used PC hardware before, decent performance. The game again. It wasn't clear obscure. It was some Game Pass turn-based RPG, I think, whatever. So it was like high settings.
so
The monitor itself,
not graphically intensive is what you're saying.
not graphically intensive. No, the monitor was like 1440p. I could recognize the model, so I was like, okay, 1440p, high settings. It was a decent performing card. If it comes in an MSRP, the 16 gig model, it's all good. Now I know for a fact, like the bigger reviewers, they got to go into inside the private suite was another private suite
Yep.
that like large reviewers could go into. So it's funny. I met Pat from Serve the Home. He was there. Nice guy. He's actually going to send me some server hardware to do videos on.
That's awesome.
Really nice guy. Yeah. I was in the elevator with the hardware and box guys. I didn't get to talk to them, but I was just in the elevator with them.
Yeah.
So
they were mad at me this past week.
Yeah, it's funny. I was gonna tell you this. I was following a thread. I saw the Frank Azor tweet, which I thought was a bad tweet, and then like the first reply I saw was yours. Like, oh, hey, I know this guy. And then I saw you and Hardware Unboxed going back and forth. That was a funny thread.
No, look. So I have nothing against them. Like I don't agree with some of their opinions, right? And I feel like they're very brash and I don't want to say abrasive because I truly believe that they believe they're doing the right thing, right? So on that alone, you will never hear me say anything bad about Hardware Unboxed, right? But like, I feel. So let's just say this, right? I do have a working relationship with AMD. Does that make me biased? Maybe, right? But I feel like everybody needs to understand that we need a successful AMD because if we don't have a successful AMD, we have a lazy NVIDIA. So like,
Yeah.
I really truly believe that, and I do believe that that his tweet was valid, right? I do feel like a lot of the tech tuber market is just not in sync with the real world. You know how you said we're in like a tech stagflation? Imagine what it's like at the lower end, right? Like how much of the world is just getting on RX 580s? And that's, I don't have any data to prove that other than like I know crypto miners who have mass shipped 580s all over the world, and they're not going to other miners, right? They're going to like gamers and stuff. But I just, in regards to that thread, I disagree with their take on it. And I mean, you can criticize AMD all you want. Like I don't like the fact that an 8 gig model is cheaper than the 16 gig model. And if someone doesn't do their research, which is technically on them, right? It's that you should technically go on YouTube and take advantage of this platform for 20 minutes before you go out and spend a few $100s on a part, right? Like,
yeah, but
you should,
no, go ahead.
but they don't, and they're gonna buy the 8 gig model, and technically that is kind of predatory, and it does feel a little predatory, and I'm not even sure if that's the right word I want to use, but I get the sentiment. But at the same point, what Frank said was accurate. Most of the world doesn't need 8 gigs of VRAM. And that was what I was kind of defending his statement. And like, I just feel like whenever these big tech guys, like CEOs and all, they talk, people just jump on them to criticize. And I'm not trying to kiss his butt or anything, but at the same point, like, if what he's saying is valid, why are you attacking it?
Well, yeah, they come from the camp that we shouldn't have 8 gig cards. I'm a little more, I have more of a centrist take on it. Personally, if you're going to make an 8 gig card, it needs to be dirt cheap. I think the 9063 8 gigabyte is too expensive. I'm sorry, I do. Because you're talking about serving that market. $300 is a lot for a GPU for that market you're talking about. Someone on a 580 who hasn't upgraded in years, that's their only card. Dude, I promise you they can't afford a $300 8 gigabyte card from AMD. They can't. You know, so if you're going to make 8 gigabyte cards, they have to be cheaper. Honestly, I think they should be below 250. And if you can't make margins like that, then you shouldn't release 8 gigabyte cards anymore. It just doesn't make financial sense.
But okay, so like, so you're not wrong, right? But counterpoint, right? And I was listening to the WAN show because there needs to be more PC podcasts, which is why I'm trying to do more of them. Counterpoint, there are people that won't buy used because we all know the cheaper you get, the better value used is, right? It just is.
Yeah.
So like for $300, you and I can both go on the used market and look. It's not going to be right away, but we could find a better card than the 50 than the models out, right? Like we could find better value.
Yeah.
Like we could get.
Yeah, we could.
So I will say that in this current marketplace, we're probably not getting a ton better value because you're probably talking in that, you know, in that $300 price range. What are you talking, like maybe
a lot of turn,
a 3070 Ti?
Yeah, maybe for
which is an 8 gig card, right? Because you're gonna have to go into like it's easier with the 5060 Ti, right? Because the 5060 Ti costs you what, like $500 right now, basically 450, 500, and you can get a 3080, which is just better, but it's not that much better, right?
No,
which is crappy. So like the used market is bad, right? And what if you're one of those people that does not want to buy a used GPU? What if you are like Kr00tman, the Silicon Foxx? I don't want to buy a used GPU. I need it to be new and I need it to have a warranty. What other option do you have if AMD and Nvidia don't serve it?
You don't have another option. That's kind of the problem that I have, is that you don't have another option and you're forced to either, because okay, Frank wasn't wrong. Like I said, I actually didn't think everything he said was wrong. But I do think the data is misconstrued a bit. You have to be honest, all right? People are not going out in droves to buy low-end graphics cards like that. What's pushing those 8 gig cards, like the 4060, 3060, things like that, was pre-built. The cards that these companies release, right, they don't sell in mass because people line up at Micro Center to go buy one. No, they buy a pre-built with those 8 gig cards, and it's a margin thing, right? It's all a margin thing. When you have those lower end cards, right, it's much better margins for the GPU vendors, for the OEMs, and for the system integrators. It's a system integrator card, and that is fine. But I feel like both companies, AMD and NVIDIA, can be more transparent about that. Like, look, this card is for our partners, system integrators, for them to push these models. If you need 16 gigs, we have that option available to the DIY market. You can spring for that. Because one thing that I think we neglect too is that someone is not also buying a card like that only to play esports. I thought that was a little bit of a dig. It's like, okay, people are not buying these Iggy cards just to play esports. They want to play other games too. Sometimes they can't. Sometimes they can't. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Like, they really think people are going out the way to buy new stock in retail, $300, 8 GB card just to play esport games. They don't want to play anything else. They don't want to play Doom. They don't play anything else. They just want to play esports. Dota, all that things. Really?
So my counterpoint to that is just this last statement you said, right? How many times have you seen someone build a 4090 PC and play Valorant on it, or a 5090, or like some thousands of dollar PC just to play Valorant, or League, or Counter-Strike, or Call of Duty? Games that run on potatoes.
Quite a bit, but I mean the amount of people that do that overspec versus who willingly go out to buy these low end cards for esports, it's non-applicable. I mean, the people who overspec, man, I promise you, they don't only just want to play esports.
No.
There's very few people you find who overspec that only want to play Valorant and Left 4 Dead 2. They trust me. They play other games. Like they play other games, and they're happy in the long run because hey, they can leverage their overspent tech for those games. Maybe they overspec a bit, but they can still play those games that are coming out. Hardware requirements for games are not static. They're not. We're seeing that. So my thing is, I think obviously consumers should be better informed, but we should be more realistic about this too, right? 8 GB cards. Fine. They need to be cheaper, and companies need to be more transparent, I'd say, in the marketing. Both cards have the same name. And yes, you could say, well, they have the same GPU chip. Okay, well, you have to do a better distinction the products, man. They're not the same product. You know what I'm saying?
But it's funny you say that, right? Because like if you look at the 4060 Ti 8 gig and the 4060 Ti 16 gig, they really didn't have that much of a difference. They really didn't. I mean, they might now, but back when
the VRAM buffer wasn't overloaded, they didn't. But outlets and not just hardware and box. I mean, Gamers Nexus, Digital Foundry, and Digital Foundry is very, very good. They're not in any one hardware camp. They do very good methodological testing. So they showed, like, both cards, if the VRAM buffer is not overloaded, both cards are pretty much identical. But VRAM requirements are not static, and we're seeing that more and more. Again, we're seeing the requirements creeping up. Think about it, right? What is it? We've had 8 GB cards, for now about 10 years since going back to like the 1070 Ti around there, right?
Yeah, about that.
As far as mainstream cards, about 8 years or about 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, well, go 10 years before that, right? Go from we're 2025. Okay, so go from like 2005 to 2015. We went from 512 megabytes in cards to around 8 GB cards, right? So that was kind of the jump. 10 years, right? And it wasn't even scale, but you saw that massive balloon. Now, 2015 to 2025, we still have 8 GB cards, right? And I'm centrist about it. You know what? If it's too expensive to do more than that, give us 10. Intel showed us that 10 can work in the low end.
12.
Why is that not MVP? 12 works in the low end. You mean you can't tell me they don't have the margin for 10 gigabytes of GDDR6, not 7, not 6X, just 6. So we can't do 6 in the low end.
So one thing I feel like I'm just defending AMD right now, and to a lesser extent NVIDIA.
He's putting on his white knight armor.
Think about it this way, right? Games have lagged behind GPUs for a long time, right? Like when 8 GB cards came out, when the 3070 came out in 2020, right? There was nothing that was pushing it. There was like one game, maybe Cyberpunk, right? And that had its own issues. But if you look at game development in the last few years, I feel like it's finally caught up. And the problem is like these GPUs, this 8 gig and these 16 gig GPUs, they've been done. Let's not kid ourselves. These things have probably been engineered for what, like, God, probably like a year now, right? Maybe 2 years, maybe a year and a half. They've been done,
Yeah, pretty much. They've been
probably
sitting on them.
ready to
They've been
go.
sitting on them. Yeah.
So like a year and a half ago, obviously. So all right, so let's go back. Let's go back to before the 4070 Super. So that was a year and a half ago, right? That was CES, my first CES, and say we're in like I don't know. Let's just say we're in November of 2023. All right, just go with me there. What games were really crank? What games were killing VRAM back then? Tarkov.
Um, so triple A. So you talking about triple A's like what? Last of Us.
Yeah, but that was an outlier, right? That game sucked on everything.
Okay. Well, I would say, yeah. But even when they patched it up, it's still VRAM requirements didn't go down. Even
No,
when they
but
got patched up.
that game has high VRAM requirements because it's a shittily developed game on the PC. Right?
Okay, but
Like
then you got the Dead Space analog. I forgot what Callisto Protocol was another one. You can't. And then Resident Evil. I thought Resident Evil 4. No, not 4. Whatever the one that came out around 2023 that was using a lot of VRAM.
7?
That was. It was a Resident Evil game that came out around 2023.
Yeah. I know what you're talking
heavy
about.
on VRAM. And I think that was the canary in the coal mine that people were missing. Like,
Okay.
RE framework games were very, very optimized. Like, I play a lot of RE engine games, and you can talk about Monster Hunter Wilds, whatever. Forget that. No, this engine that this game was built on, very scalable. I mean, you're talking all the way down to Steam Deck and up. This game was using more than 8 gigs of VRAM, 1080p, like medium to high settings, and people were like, it's unoptimized. It's unoptimized. Like, no, it's not. They're just pushing higher texture fidelity, right? And
Okay.
I was like, hey, this is something to pay attention to. People were like, no, the game's not optimized. So around 2023, we had examples of this. And again, think about it, right? These games are not built on just an arbitrary schedule. They're built around consoles. When you talk about 3070s and stuff like that, around that time, we were still in the PS4 generation. The PS4 is a very weak. You're talking about Jaguar CPUs and what HD
I don't know.
7780
That's
GPU.
before
Like,
my time. That's before my time in the industry. So I don't know what's in a PS4. I can tell you about PS5 I know, but not a PS4. Like I have no clue.
PS4, I'll tell you right now, it was very, very weak hardware, right? So you could build a cheap gaming PC that would run circles around the PS4. So yeah, a lot of those ports of games we got, like yeah, they didn't use any VRAM, any CPU cycles, nothing. It was very easy to run. Now we're in this generation, the PS5, PS5 Pro, Xbox Series, and it's old hardware, but it's contemporary hardware. We're talking about a Zen 2 based CPU and it's an RDNA 2 based GPU in both of those. How many people don't have Zen 2 and RDNA 2 based,
Yeah, I mean,
systems?
you're talking like I think it's like the 2070 Super, like 2070 to 2070
Yeah,
Super
around there.
range,
Yeah,
5700 XT ish range, and you're talking like a Ryzen 3700 ish.
Yeah,
Like it's
3700,
still good hardware. I mean, back then it was amazing hardware. Now it's just like
it's decent, but
yeah. I mean, like you
yeah,
still,
I mean,
yeah, no, you're right, and I get we're finally seeing that, and I like it, right? Like I like the ray tracing. So as a self-proclaimed ray tracing maxi, right? In my personal life, and I kind of on my channel as well. I love the forced ray tracing coming out, right? But it's
I do
still
too.
like if you look at these games, and I know Daniel Owen, I'm actually gonna in my 5060 Ti review, I'm gonna show everyone to go watch his video. I tested 5 games. He tested like 30 or something like that. And his video is amazing. And it shows you the weakness of 8 gigs of VRAM. But that is a tiny, tiny subset of games, right? And like, I guess it does suck that we're still doing 8 gigs of VRAM when we could probably do 12 and not have this issue. I concede the point. But those 8 gig VRAM people, are they really buying Indiana Jones and the Great Circle or Doom? Are they buying those games?
See, I think none of them outright, no. But if we could get the harder metrics from Game Pass, I think a lot of them would be using it, man. Because every time now you buy a pre-built or a gaming laptop that comes with 5060s inside, guess what you get 3 months of for free? Game Pass.
Yeah.
Guess what's on Game Pass? All those popular games everybody's talking about. Like I was just at Best Buy. Hey, you buy this random Skytech gaming PC, we'll give you 3 months free of Game Pass. Guess what GPU it has?
Wow.
5060 or whatever, something like that. 40, something like that.
You really think? So actually, I want to cut you off real quick. You really think that the pre-builts are where the majority of people are getting these 8 gig 5060? Because
I promise you, yes. I promise you.
Because like talking to people at Micro Center, right? Especially in the beginning of this second round of GPU shortages, everybody was buying like the 3060 because it was like the only GPU out and it had 12 gigs of VRAM.
Yeah,
so,
I still got my 3060.
people are still buying older hardware. So you don't think people are putting 5060s and 5060 Ti's in gaming PCs?
I do, but like I said, PC gaming and the DIY community, we're not a monolith, right? There's a lot of sub niches within this hardware niche.
For sure.
And I personally believe that a majority of what's driving these like lower end cards is system integrators. I just don't think the majority is people going out of their way to buy them, because like especially in regions where it's actually a better deal to get a newer card with a pre-built than it is just to like go to their used market.
Yeah.
So you have countries like that.
That's
That's what I personally believe. Like I said, it's hard because we just don't have firm data in all these sectors. But it would make sense because those machines, you see them a lot. They're cookie cutter, right? We could probably go through and extrapolate from the Steam hardware server and say, okay, how many people have this OEM AMD CPU, this 7500F with an RTX 4060? How many? We could pair it up like that, and just go by, okay, this is the most popular pre-built from 2024, AMD CPU, NVIDIA GPU. Let's see how many people have this hardware combination on the Steam hardware survey. We could go through and figure out like that. But personally, that's what I believe. I think a lot of this is driven by system integrators, and that's fine. They have their place. I think that's good for people who have that option, that want the warranty on their parts, want something ready-made. My thing is, these companies, they can, and by do more, they can do the bare minimum. 10 gigs, I think, is fine. People also want to keep their hardware. I don't know anybody personally that upgrades every year. When I had an 8 gigabyte graphics card, I mean, yeah. When I had 8 gigabyte graphics card, I didn't get an upgrade until years. I literally just upgraded, and this was a used card that I got. So I think that too, right? If you buy this 5060 or 9060 XT, right? How long do you expect them to keep it? Most people would say at least 3 years. That's what the data shows. At least 3 years.
Yeah.
What do you think games will be doing in 3 years on 8 gigs of VRAM? And I promise you won't just be AAAs. I promise you will not just be AAAs. 3 years from now. 3 years from now.
I honestly, I don't know, because like if you asked me what games would be like 3 years ago after what happened with Cyberpunk, I would have not really been. I did not think we would get the Alan Wake 2s, the Indiana Jones and the Great Circles. I didn't think we'd get them. Because like, the gaming industry, not to sidetrack, which I feel like we are, but it's a very copycat industry. So like, Cyberpunk didn't exactly do the best at first. Obviously, it's a great game now. It's like, you talk about that with like No Man's Sky in terms of games that are not what they were when they came out, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know where we would have been, so I can't tell you where we would be. But you're right. Like if I was a betting man, I'd bet against the 8 gig cards. So, did you hear a lot? So back to Computex. Did you hear a lot of people talking about the VRAM debate? Like, was it just like a lot of that, or not?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, you did. Yeah. Content creators. You heard people on the show floor talking about it. People that I met, like I met this really cool guy from Sive Coolers, make like little air coolers and stuff like that. And just a random OEM from China, talking about 8 gigabyte VRAM cards, man. Talking about it, yeah, because he's got a cousin that works in like Chinese pre-builts that are shipping them on Amazon US or whatever. And yeah, it's affecting his business. You know, people don't want to buy some of those 8 gig cards, or you know, he's getting questions about, oh, how long will it last if I buy this stuff he's never got asked before.
Yeah.
You know, so people are feeling it. People are feeling it. You know.
So it's funny, right? Because I like the 5060 Ti 8 gig. I really do. Like, I used it and I was like, okay, I bought it. I'm actually returning it tomorrow. Bought it, right? I gamed with it, and when I gamed with it, I was like, okay, this is really good. And I did a big comparison. I did the 2060 Super, 3060 Ti, 8 gig. Well, just 8 gig. 4060 Ti, I did the 8 gig, not the 16 gig. And then the 5060 Ti. I ran all of them in like 6 games, right? And I did a few off screen. And obviously I got mad at the 4060 Ti because it's just a 3060 Ti. Like, it's the worst case of side grade Central on the planet. But comparing the 5060 Ti, there were some games where the VRAM held it back, right? Where when it performs the same as a 4060 Ti, you know it's a VRAM issue, right?
Yeah.
But when it wasn't, in like a lot of newer AAA games, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it was like 20% better. Like, it was legitimately a generational jump. And I'm not praising Nvidia and I'm not defending Nvidia, but it was a jump. So like, if you didn't price it, right? So like, if I'm, obviously that's not how this works, but I played it and I was like, this is really good. And then I was like, okay, what price is this really good at? And I was like, man, if I could get this thing for like $320, I would legitimately be happy with it, right? And then I saw what I paid for it, and I'm like, you know, there are no bad GPUs. There are just bad prices.
Yes, no, I agree. I agree with that. I agree.
The price is atrocious, but you did get a generational improvement. So like, but obviously that doesn't matter if the price sucks, right? Because like it's like, and that's basically what the title of my review is gonna be. It's gonna be like, there are no bad GPUs, just bad prices. Like, it's not a side grade, is what I'm trying to say. But the price sucks. So
yeah,
I don't know. We're getting derailed.
We are. It's hard not to attack. You know, but before getting back to Computex, last thing I'll say is that, yeah, you know, yes, we can look at GPUs holistically, but they're made up of many different parts, right? Yeah. And a lot of times these companies, they don't screw up the GPU chip, it die itself. That's not what gets screwed up, you know. But you can limit a product by its surrounding components. And I just think that these companies are not forward-looking enough. Like, hey, if our customers buy this, right, and they expect to keep it 3 years, are we really providing the best value? And that's what I think that AMD and both NVIDIA just do more looking at. You know,
they're not doing that. Like,
they should. That's the problem. They should.
So you know how you know they're not doing that, and it just this is what it is, right? Like, I don't like being super critical of companies who I like their products. I don't. And maybe that's because I'm a smaller tech tuber, and maybe that's because I don't want to alienate people. I'm just upfront about it, right? Like, I won't review a product I don't like. If you notice, all of my product reviews are like good. Like so even companies that send me products, I tell them what I want. They're like, "What are you interested in?" And I'm like, "Well, so like I'll just be transparent, right? Like, I work with MSI, and they were like, "We'll send you some stuff." And I'm like, "This is what I'm interested in." And they're like, "Okay, well, we'll send you this stuff." And I liked all of it. And it wasn't, and look, I am trying to build a relationship with these companies, so I'm not going to like attack dog them, right? But at the same point, they didn't give me products that I didn't like. Like, if I got a product I didn't like, I would tell you I don't like it, right? Like, like, you give me a 4070, which I've paid for out of my own money, unfortunately, or a 7800 XT, I will tell you that they are trash tiered graphics cards and you shouldn't buy them, right? And I could go on for an hour about it. But these companies are not, back on topic, these companies are not going to sell you more than they have to.
That's very true.
Look at these GPUs. Look at the 5090. It's I'm a little fried, but it's 8203, right? Is that the board?
Yeah.
It's not the full board. It's literally cut down. They literally gave us all they had to. If they would have given us the full board, people would have shit their pants with how good it is.
Yes.
Like
They,
you
yeah,
see
they were a
this thing,
GTC.
right? So this is not even the full. This is a 4090. This isn't even the full board. This thing has like 20% left to give on the board. Like they never gave us the Titan or the 4090 Ti because they didn't need to.
Heck no, they don't want to either. You know, they're when they sell us those cards, they're losing so much money, dude. They lose so much
Oh yeah.
money that they could. I mean, not in a margin sense, but what they could be getting right if they when they just sell the full die to AI data centers and stuff like that. I mean, that's where the money is. When I tell you at Computex, Nvidia didn't have a booth on the trade show floor. They had, but they you know what they had? They had armies of partners who had Nvidia displays and Nvidia booths for them. When I tell you, almost on every floor, maybe two, yeah, maybe like two or three companies on every floor an NVIDIA showcase section just dedicated to AI,
Yeah.
right? And that's not counting the gaming partners like MSI, Gigabyte, those guys. No, just regular AI companies, data center companies, right? They had their own just set like, here's our NVIDIA GB 200/203 cold plate. Here's our NVLink attachments blah 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 blah. That's all Nvidia's hard in on, and
They're
you're
doing
talking
it.
like it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
No, I mean they're doing it. They're doing it right, right? Like they know what they're doing, and we know
The
that
money's that, yeah,
AI is better. Like it's just more profitable than gaming. It just is, and money
yeah, it is.
talks. Like that's why we need a success. That's why everybody needs to be successful. And look, I'm not saying we shouldn't push back on crap like 8 gig cards, but at the same point, if these companies are selling them in droves, what are we gonna do?
Nothing we can do. It's
Like
consumer sentiment. Nothing we can do.
like you see these tech tubers screaming at the top of their lungs about how evil these companies are. Maybe evil's the wrong word because I don't want to put words in their mouths, right? They're doing a service to the consumer. Gamers Nexus, Hardware Unbox, they're all doing great services, and I, for the most part, I agree with them all, right? They do more for the community than we could ever hope to do at our size currently.
Yeah.
Um, but sometimes I feel like they're going against the heart, like they're going against the grain just to, like, I'm trying to figure out the right words, like.
To be a contrarian, right? Just they're doing it just to do it.
Well, no, because
Almost.
they're right. No, but they're right in a lot of the things that they want. But the audience, okay. It's like you were to tell people don't buy this product. It's bad for this reason, right? And then
Yeah.
your video gets like hundreds of thousands of hits, and then it sells out anyway. What does that say?
Right. What
That
it
like
says,
they don't
no,
care.
the audience. Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
care what you think, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe
Right
it's
now.
not. They don't care what you.
Or we're more niche than we think. That I think that's what it says, honestly. I think a lot of people's audiences actually does take their advice. I just think that when it comes to overall computer hardware and stuff like that, us tech tubers, influencers, even the big guys, are a little more niche than they may think or understand, right? Because I can tell you, I know people who like PC stuff, like PC gaming, but they don't watch Hardware Unbox. They don't even watch Linus Tech Tips.
Yeah.
They just go to the store and then they get what they can afford.
Yeah.
It looks cool. It's got pretty lights on it. It says Nvidia. I remember Nvidia. I know RTX whatever. I'll get that. So yeah, I think that just our kind of reach, especially in the stuff we do, like Gamers Nexus, those guys, like very good content. They've got large audiences, but it's a niche audience, right? We're talking like the specifics of GPU hardware.
Yeah.
How many people do you know, and like we know, that knows about lithography and TSMC and GPU dies itself and memory interconnects? Like who knows that? There's not many that I know that know that stuff. Especially not they go out and buy products at Best Buy and Micro Center or whatever. So I think we're more niche than we think.
No, I mean, you're right. So, I guess, we've already gone for over an hour. Um,
Yeah.
is there anything, so at Computex, right? Is there any other products that you want to talk about? Like, I don't know, you take the floor. Like,
Yeah.
is there anything at Computex that you saw you were like, holy crap, everybody's gonna love this?
Yes, there is. So Cooler Master. I went to their HQ. For one, they threw a crazy party. Like it's after like the party was dude. The party was insane. They brought in high end escorts, prostitutes. Like it was a crazy thing. But anyway,
I'm gonna have to edit that out. Ugh.
oh sorry, my bad. Well, I mean we're like an hour in. I'm sure the algorithm won't catch it. But
Yeah.
yeah, no. We went to before that. We went to the product show floor, and yeah, they had some stuff around that was cool. But what I was really interested in is they have this new air cooler technology they're working on. It's called a 3D heat pipe. And essentially, what it is, they're taking like a regular air cooler and they're not just stuffing more like heat pipes inside. They have a specially treated, um, it's a specially treated heat pipe, right? It has three different material treatments on the inside. And
Okay.
somehow, some way, with this special baffle and vapor chamber, this air cooler gets like crazy results. It's hard to put it into perspective, right? Because a lot of it was super NDA'd. But yeah, dude,
Yeah.
it
Don't
gets
break
like
your
crazy.
NDA. Don't break your NDA.
No, no, I won't. It's funny. So I got to see a demo of it. So they take you upstairs to their NDA room. Okay, sign this NDA, right? Phone away, can't pull it out, like nothing like that. So they take you into a room on the top floor. All the windows are blacked out. You can't see outside, nothing, no light comes inside. And then there the heat pipes are. And as they're explaining the process to me, they're also telling the story of how it was developed. And like, dude, so much corporate espionage, like them catching spies sent from other companies, like getting rid of them, like just like a crazy James Bond-esque story. But it makes sense because Cooler Master currently is the only one that has this technology. And when I say it works, dude, it works. You're talking like you're getting AIO performance on what they're targeting as like a $50 to $60 air cooler. I
Okay.
mean, that's gonna do insane numbers for the like the the lower end DIY market.
Yeah.
Steve, I think he made a video about it. Steve from Gamers Nexus made a video about it. I think that's what the guy told me. When I saw it, I was blown away. I really was. I think that was one of the more impressive things from Computex I actually saw. Was like they're actually doing real material science. And dude, I'm telling you, when this comes out, I think it's gonna surprise people. Like it's gonna come out of left field for a lot of people. Like an air cooler, you don't need an AIO in this sector anymore. Like it's that good. Yeah, man, I think it is.
Yeah. I mean, so it's funny because air coolers are still like, like if you think about it, right? You don't need an AIO unless you have like like an Intel cool like a Threadripper or like an Intel heat box CPU, right? Like
Yes.
air coolers are
Yeah,
really good. And I
they
mean,
are.
I feel like the only reason I like AIOs more for looks than anything else right now, for being honest.
Yeah, I've
So
always been an AI or air cooler kind of guy, and I never liked AI as much.
I that's a topic for another day. I could explain to you how I got converted, kicking and screaming, from air. So like what? All right, this Cooler Master thing, you think it'll be out next year, or you have any idea?
Um, they when we talked, they were aiming for Q4 this year, but they're still doing testing on the samples. They're still trying to get the efficiency curves just right, and get it to dissipate more heat. So the process itself is very delicate. It's actually not easy to make these. They were saying like right now they're only at maybe 70% efficiency, and by that I mean when they make this heat pipe, right? If at any part they mess up, they're throwing away like at most they said no, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. They're looking at their about 50% efficiency. So when they go through this whole process, they can make about 50 out of 100 perfect ones. The other 50 get tossed. So they're trying to get that manufacturing process down because that's expensive. Aluminum,
Okay.
the pipes, the wicking, that's all it's got to be trash. And it's got to be destroyed because they can't even like take the regular samples to the recycler, or somebody from some other company is going to take a damaged sample and say, back to our labs. Let's figure out what Cooler Master is doing. So it's a crazy story, bro. They're just sitting on piles and piles of dead samples they just can't even get rid of right now.
That's funny. So all right, so that's awesome. What else did you see? Like what else do you want to like talk about in terms of sweet products that maybe we didn't get to
Um,
see or
let's see. Yeah, AMD Connect. I saw. I went to Corsair's booth, met those guys. I thought they don't call it the master frame. What do they call that case? It's their open. It's their open air
The
like
4000D.
Yes, thank you. You're the Corsair guy. I'm not.
I love
Yeah,
that
it's the
case. They
case.
sent me one. I love it.
Yeah, so it's like one you can like open it up. It's got like frame brackets on it.
Love
I
it.
thought that was so cool, dude. Like I would love to have one of those, and I'm I guess waiting to hear back from my Corsair reps right now. Not getting a case in, but I asked for some solid state storage, which I need desperately. So
Dude, I'm dying on solid state storage. Don't get me started on that. I might actually reach out. But they sent me a frame 4000D after CES, and I was honestly so at CES I did a big thing on cases. Haven and Corsair were my two favorites by far. The 4000D and the HS 420. And it's funny because the HS 420 is my gaming PC, and the Frame 4000D is another gaming PC I use in another location. So they're both the cases that I use now. Love them.
yeah, man. Like I said, I know of Corsair, like mainly like from like some of the peripherals and stuff. So seeing the cases, things they had out there like that, it was really really cool for me. And as I grow, I'm definitely going to keep in contact with them.
Yeah, they're good.
They're doing great work. They're doing great work.
Did you check out did you check out a Pro Gamers Group booth? Did you check out their booth?
No, I wasn't able to. There was the Intel briefing. I couldn't make it.
I gotcha. Did
Yeah.
you hear anything interesting from Intel? I mean I know they did that AI card, which is pretty cool. But
I was at the pre Panther Lake briefing in the morning into different press. I saw that. I thought it was interesting. I only cared about Panther Lake on the low end
okay.
for laptops to see what they're doing. They're saying that like, hey, it's going to be like Lunar Lake, where we're talking. It's going to be like almost MacBook levels of battery life and notebooks, things like that. I don't know if you kept up with Lunar Lake at all.
No,
That chip.
honestly, I haven't one bit.
So
But
basically, mobile chip TSMC N3. It was really really efficient. Very good iGPU. You could get you. It was like Windows on ARM battery life. You can get at least 10 hours actually using it heavy. Closer to 16, 17 light usage. So it was pretty much the best notebook processor you can get right now on x86. But it was expensive design. Intel said they're not doing it anymore. So they stopped. Too expensive. TSMC M3. It had memory on package, so the memory was actually on the chip itself. It wasn't soldered to the board. So you could only get this chip like in denominations of 16 gigabyte models or 32 gigabyte models. And that was like Samsung. It was actual Samsung 8,000 mega transfer second RAM on the CPU, which I thought was cool. It was efficient. It was smart package. You can squeeze a lot of performance out like that with memory access. Put the memory on the CPU, but too expensive. Intel said we're not doing it. So, um, so we'll see how good Panther Lake is. I do think dropping the Lunar Lake design is a mistake because they did a lot of things right, and I get it. Intel doesn't have. They're like, we don't have the money for this, but I don't know. I feel like they're making a mistake in that regard. It's like you had this perfect design in mobile, and you're giving it up, giving it up.
you see a lot of do you see a lot of cool things there that you were like, this ain't ever hitting the floor, like this will never see mass marketing kind of thing. Like
Oh yeah, yeah, the gaming AIO. I saw there was a company that was like trying to push discrete NPU cards, like hey, just plug this into your PCIe slot, and now you have an NPU for AI tasks. I don't think that's gonna hit mass market, mainly because if you have a GPU, it'll just destroy anything in AI performance anyway.
yeah,
You got
yeah, yeah.
RTX 3060, 40, whatever. There's your AI performance. So I don't think that's gonna hit it. There was one company that they were trying to push. They were trying to push like really crazy and out there PC cases, and not just like fancy rectangles, like actual like sculptures and like stuff like that. And but to mass market, not to niche. Like they're like, yeah, we want to get this at retail. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man, but you can't have a box of a robot like making poses on like taking up shelves in Amazon warehouses. Just it's not gonna work. People aren't gonna buy it like that. It's expensive too, you know. So I was like, I don't think that's gonna work.
No.
I saw some companies with like generic laptops, so like ODMs, and they're trying to. I know it sounds weird, like laptops are mass market, but what they were trying to do, which I thought was kind of weird, is again rebadge this low end stuff, but rebrand it as AI. And I was talking to the rep. I was like, look, I'm not telling you how to run your business, but this is going to fail. You're better off just selling this as like, hey, this is a notebook for school. This is for university, for light work. You put this AI sticker on it, you're gonna fail. You're not Microsoft, you're not Qualcomm, and even there, they're having a hard time pushing the AI joke
left and right on that stuff.
Yeah, so they didn't see it. I was trying to put them on to the vision like people are not gonna buy your and we're talking low end like Intel N100, 4 cores, 4 threads, 2 cores, 2 thread laptops in 2025. I'm like, why is Intel selling you this for a laptop?
It's funny. A few like a quick story. You'll laugh at this. I took my mom. You know, like your mom's like, buy me a laptop. You buy a laptop, she never uses it, right?
Yeah.
I needed something to take like a Chromebook, like a laptop that if it got destroyed, it didn't matter, right? Like it didn't matter. So I dug out her old laptop. It had like a an HDD in it, like a spinning disk hard drive.
Oh man.
Cleaned it up, whatever. And I was like, all right, let's poke around in this thing. Had just an Intel. It was like a 7th gen laptop CPU, 2 cores, 4 threads, and I was like,
oh my god.
So for what I need it for like a Chromebook, it works. But it just like, I was like, they did 2-core laptops in, I guess I got it like 2021. I'm like, are you kidding me?
And like Intel's just now moving to 4 core, 4 thread in the low end,
dude.
Like for low end.
So okay. So I wanted to ask you, and I can't believe I didn't. Did you check out Noctua at all? Did you get to see their stuff?
Noctua. No, I didn't get to see. It's funny. I looked too. I didn't know where they were. I need to go to Noctua.
That pumpless AIO. I heard some rumors that it was going to be there, and I need to go look. I haven't really seen much of their stuff, but I admit that I haven't been on top of Computex news. I'm gonna try to catch back up. In the next week or so. Life.
It's the news was diluted, man. And like you said, it was like to see stuff that wasn't from Intel, AMD, or Nvidia. It was slim pickings. It was like Intel, Panther Lake, AI cards, 9060 XT, Nvidia, NVLink Fusion, but that was like all the news for a minute.
Did you go to MSI's booth? They had some neat stuff.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I went to MSI's booth.
I saw some videos on that. They had some pretty cool stuff. Did you like what you saw from there?
Yeah. I played around a lot with the claw. I went at a bad time. I went when PC World was there, and they were the guy who normally does the coverage for PC World. He was complaining because they wouldn't let them like get private time with the units and stuff, and everybody was fighting on the showroom floor. It's funny. I have a video of it. Like he's just like, yeah, man, it sucks. Like we can't get in to record or anything. It was pretty funny. But the stuff I saw there was cool.
So when you're at CES, you got to get in like Monday, Tuesday to like the booths when they're getting like the suites before they're open up to all the vendors and the buyers and stuff. And it's just all the YouTubers trying to like get everything they need, get all the B-roll they need, and get out before everything gets crazy. So
man, it was so crazy. And then like there was times when the companies like they would, I think it was Gigabyte or something. They were like doing, I don't know if it was a tour or some kind of event. Like they shut down an actual part of the floor, like the where you just walk through to do something. And it was like, crap, now you can't even walk through to other meetings and booths, bro. Like the whole part of the floor was shut down. So everyone's just standing in the MSI booth, arm to arm. I took that time to record some of the MSI claw footage I had. And then like the guys from PC World are just like, are you done? Like, who is this random guy with his camera? Like, hey, are you done, tourists? Like, hey, the real journalists are here. Like, it's funny.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So we are getting kind of late here. But
Yeah, wrap it up.
I really, really appreciate you coming on. Like it's been amazing getting your insight. Definitely plan on having you on more. Um, for everybody, it's his YouTube channel. I will put a link to it. You sent me a link, right?
Yes, I did.
All right, I'll put a link. It's the Silicon Foxx. It's a great channel. Does a lot more mobile and laptop stuff, but more knowledgeable than me. 100% more knowledgeable than me on most of this stuff. Any final so would you? All right, so what did you think about Computex versus CES, and would you go back?
One, Computex is better than CES, especially for I think for creator coverage. There's more for us to like, I would say, look at and maneuver around. It's easier to get into those private meetings. Stateside, I think they know each other a little better. But when you go over there, they don't know anybody. You say you're American media. Oh, business card? Thank you for business card. Go right ahead into this private meeting with Gamers Nexus and Pat from Serve the Home. And it was so funny. So I would go back again, and offline I can tell you some funny stories. Like I would walk into places, and these guys would look at me like we running. It's like, who is this guy? Like a Steve from Gamers Nexus. One time we were editing across from each other, and like he gave me a look because it was like the 10th time seeing him that day. I don't know if he thought I was stalking him or something, but it's like they all know each other, so it's weird when you just see somebody at Computex who you haven't seen before. You know?
No, I mean, it's funny because like at CES, like in my second year, I ran into Paul from Paul's Hardware, and I was talking to him for a second. He's like, so he either like really like just looked down and was like, saw my name tag, and was like, I introduced myself to him last year. I was like, the first year, I was like, hey, I love your content, pleasure meeting you, and I just walked away, right? Like, to the point, I don't want to bother him. And then so he either recognized me or he just saw my name tag. But we had like a maybe like a 10-minute conversation while we were both filming B-roll. Actually, it was funny, and they're all really nice guys. Nothing bad to say about any of them. But they definitely have a lot more closed off meetings than CES, as I learned. Like it's definitely way more closed off and harder to get access to stuff.
Yeah, because Computex is a little easier, man. It's like you well spoken. You've got your business card. It looks nice. You can get into a lot of those kind of private meetings. The only ones that are hard to get into is with like the super private ones when they have a US rep there. So for example, at AMD, like I was following Pat from Serve the Home. I was just gonna tailgate him inside. I almost got into that private meeting. Like I was in line with him, not Gamers Nexus, Hardware and Box, and the guys from WCCF Tech. They were like going in, and then boom, lady from America was like the final boss. I was like, well, I'm not getting in, so I just turned around. I was so close, bro. I was so close,
dude. You just look. I told you, you just gotta walk in. I'll tell you more. When we're off, but you just gotta walk in. Fake it till you make it, brother. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I would have that one. I couldn't because she actually was only expecting those guys. So that's why I walked, because I could hear her. She was like, because somebody else had tried to get in, and she told the guys that were there in Chinese, she told them like, hey, if they're not on the list, turn them away. We only have space for these outlets.
Yeah. No, I mean,
next year I'll get it. No, next year I'm gonna get it. I got a plan for next year. Computex is fun, man. I'm hitting up all my reps. Like I'm gonna be in all those meetings.
I'm gonna try to go next year. It's funny because a bunch of my reps were telling me like, I'm not gonna name names, but they were like, you don't need to go to CES. You don't need to go to Computex if you can get to CES. Like it's so close, and it was a little close this year, and it was a little annoying in the sense that like all the really good stuff was unveiled at CES, and I'm happy with that because I get CES easier, right?
Yeah,
but you're not gonna get the GPU reveals at Computex like you do at CES, which is a bummer.
Yeah, sure.
So, all right. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. Thank you so much. Again, Silicon Foxx YouTube channel. It's amazing. I will put a link. I just trying not to. We're all live, but I'll put it on real quick and go check out his channel. He's got great content, and he's gonna put out a lot more Computex content. So,
thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It won't be the last time, and thank you guys for watching. If you're watching this at a later date, we try to record these in conversational podcast-like format where basically you can just listen while you're driving and watch, and you don't really need to watch. So thanks again for watching. For for Silicon Foxx and for me, Kr00tman Tech, we really appreciate it. Got anything else you want to say before we go?
Nope. You guys just take care out there. Do your research. Don't get fleeced on products. But also buy within your means too. Let's enjoy this hobby. Let's enjoy the hobby.
That's right. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Peace out.